wide receiver waiver wire, headlined by a lot of rookie wide receivers breaking out this week. It was exciting. We got to start with the Saints. Chris Olave, available only in 38% of leagues. The 300 air yards, team high 13 targets in week 2. Chris Olave is here to stay in the Saints offense.
James Winston talked about the fact that he should have had a much bigger day, but it was just on him, meaning Winston, that he didn't. So again, he's not out there in a ton of leagues. He's only available in, as you said, close to 40%, but worth checking to see if he is, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when Chris Olave shows up, and it's going to happen sooner rather than later.
A little different for Garrett Wilson, who's available in 77%. Probably going to be a very popular waiver claim. Did not play more snaps than Elijah Moore or Corey Davis, but that's bound to change after Wilson had 14 targets, a team-high 22% target share this season. The 2 touchdowns, like we talked about yesterday, I thought he even had 2 more left on the field because of Joe Flacco missing him in the end zone. Got to be excited for the future of Garrett Wilson right now, especially if you draft him in Dynasty, but he has redraft league value right now.
Yeah, I mean, at least with Joe Flacco under center, we know Joe
point.
Flacco is playing this week. We'll see what happens once Zach Wilson is under center. But again, this happens. Fantasy drafters sort of ignore draft capital. They go crazy for he's on the Jets. Treylon Burks is playing some snaps for the 4th team. Like, they ignore all these guys. Chris Olave. People like Jahan Dotson, who we're going to talk about in a second as well. He's going to the Commanders. Commanders aren't going to throw. Again, these guys all went in the top 16. Not Burks, but all these guys went in the top 20 overall. All first-round picks. There's a reason for it. We love their college tape, and now teams are finding ways to get them the ball. Do I expect Garrett Wilson to have whatever it was, 102 yards and 2 touchdowns every week? Of course not. Or 14 targets and a furious comeback is what the Jets. No. But do I think he's a really talented guy who's going to be a big part of a team that's going to need to throw much of the year? Obviously, I do.
Yeah, with the Jets coaching staff, it's clicked that he needs to be on the field after he wasn't enough in week 1. All right, our last rookie wide receiver, you mentioned it, Jahan Dotson, available in 57% of leagues. He scored in both games so far out of the gate. He's the clear-cut number 2 there for your Commanders.
He's playing 99% of the snaps of week 2, and this follows, like, if you listen to me in the preseason at all, talking to a bunch of the people around the Commander staff, they're like, they think they have something, Jahan Dotson. They were excited to get Curtis Samuel back, but that was a known entity from their days in Carolina, Ron Rivera and Scott Turner. Jahan Dotson just dominated camp, nothing but rave reviews, and it's been proven out, especially when you think about how bad the Commanders' defense is. And they got to play Philadelphia this week. Now, that's obviously a tough secondary, but, Carson Wentz. I'm just imagining this. Like, Carson Wentz against that defense. Don't make me watch football this weekend. I'm just asking. Just don't make me watch football. That's all I want. Is it my job?
That's what I've been told.
I'm being told it's my job.
Yeah, I told you need to watch football. You need to be here Sunday.
What if I quit?
Well, then it's no longer your job.
Joke's on you. What if I quit? Then I don't have to watch. See, I'm always one step ahead of my producers. There you go. Yeah, that could be ugly.
Except in fantasy football.
Yeah, thanks. You too? Do I have to still be on this show?
Yes,
I'm going to quit now.
Please,
I'm just quitting now. I'm quitting now. All right. Look,
please
fine.
come back.
No, exactly.
Just me.
Just throw your name on the list. All right. So Jahan Dotson's the real deal. I mean, let's just talk about that. Just coming out of Penn State, like, this is a kid that
was great.
He just jumps off the screen, and he's proven in the pros, like, his route running is excellent. He obviously has a nose for the end zone with 3 touchdowns in 2 games. They're not scared to go to him in big moments. I mean, the touchdowns, by the way, like, 2 of the 3 touchdowns came late in games when the Commanders were trailing.
Yeah.
So, they put him in high leverage situations as well. 5 or more targets in both games. So, this is an offense that is going to continue to have to throw. I'm in on Jahan Dotson.
All right, moving to the veteran wide receiver market. Jakobi Meyers doing what he always does. Possession, yards, no touchdowns, available in 65% of leagues. Is Jakobi Meyers one of those guys, at least in PPR, that you give a look right now?
If you need a floor guy.
Yeah.
Like, there's no upside there. There's no upside to that offense, but you're just like, I just need to plug a hole. Just give me, like,
7 to 10 points.
Yeah, exactly, right? What's positive here, if you want to talk up Jakobi Meyers, is he's got a 30% target share, right? And no other Patriot is above 18%. He's had over 50 yards, over 55 yards actually, in both games this season, in 2 tough matchups defensively for the Patriots. Wide receiver 25 this past week, 14.5 fantasy points, went 9 for 95. Again, in games in which they're trying to grind it out, Meyers seems to be a safety blanket for Mac Jones. Again, he's much more of a floor play than an upside play, but sometimes that's what you need. And so Jakobi Meyers is available in 65% of leagues. They're going to have to throw against the Ravens on Sunday.
New England at home against Baltimore. Keep an eye on the health status of their corners in Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. That could be the difference in between playing Jakobi Meyers or keeping him on the bench. All right, the Bucs added Cole Beasley this morning.
Yes, they did.
But Russell Gage, obviously, still much more involved than him at the moment. Available in 59% of leagues. We know Mike Evans is suspended. Chris Godwin and Julio Jones both missed week 2. Another status to keep an eye on. Is Russell Gage a guy that maybe you sneak in the flex spot?
Maybe. Again, more of a floor play, more of a plug-in, just kind of like I got to plug a hole here. If he doesn't do it this week, then I don't know. The signing of Cole Beasley, I think, is pretty interesting, right? Because that's another slot receiver. In theory, that's a guy that would take snaps away from Russell Gage. Julio is basically running the Rob Gronkowski role in this offense, right? And so, because they didn't use Gronk, they use him some as a tight end, but not all the time, right? And so, and we'll get Godwin and Evans back here in 2 weeks, maybe, hopefully. Certainly Evans off the suspension. Hopefully Godwin is available soon after that. So, I don't know. If there's something to hang your hat on, he led the Buccaneers in routes run last week. But again, feels more of a floor play than an upside play. There are other guys I prefer, but we just want to point out that he is available. And at least this week, should be a lot of targets available for Russell Gage again, given that we don't expect Godwin. We know Mike Evans is suspended, and who knows with Julio.
All right, Cooper Rush's best friend, Noah Brown, with the breakout performance, 5 catches,
Noah Brown,
91 yards, and a touchdown.
Find somebody who looks at you the way that Cooper Rush looks at Noah Brown.
That's all you need in life.
That's right,
right
pretty
now.
much.
Available in 98% of leagues. Now, Michael Gallup's eventual return could impact this. Are you buying in on Noah Brown? I mean, he's out there in every league, every single league right now.
You know what? I kind of am, at least until Gallup shows back up, because I think Cooper Rush clearly has a connection with him. He's had 5 catches and 65 yards or more in both games this year, right? 91 yards last week against the Bengals. He's currently second on the team in targets. Like, Cooper Rush, and credit Coach Garrett, who came on the Fantasy Football pregame show on Sunday morning and said, for all the panic, I'm paraphrasing what Coach Garrett said, but he's like, I like Cooper Rush. We liked him in Dallas. Always prepared. He will run the offense.
It's been there a while.
He's not gonna wow you, but can he run the offense? Can he do it effectively? Can he stay within the system and get you the plays you need? Yes. And in essence, what Coach Garrett said is this is not going to be the disaster that everyone thinks it's going to be. And he was 100% right.
Very right.
Cooper Rush moved the ball, moved the offense, and so his number one receiver, it looks like, is Noah Brown. So in a Monday night game against the Giants, the 2-0 undefeated first place Giants. Maybe.
Maybe.
Nothing about that secondary really scares you.
Sure.
In New York, it's fine, but I think Noah Brown is a useful piece, if you're looking for somebody that deep.
All right, back to Arizona. As Roto World said, the inevitable Greg Dortch, available in 93% of leagues. He has gone for at least 55 yards in both games this season. Caught a touchdown in week 2 against the Raiders. They have the Rams this week at home. Greg Dortch, kind of been a popular waiver wire pickup now.
Yeah, I mean, again,
desperation Dortch.
More of a desperation Dortch is really what it is. He's basically taken the Rondell Moore role in this offense, and so a lot of stuff near the line of scrimmage, and they try to sort of scheme him open. That Cardinals offense just looks like a mess. I know ultimately at the end of the day they put up fantasy points because they had this furious comeback, and Kyler did Kyler-like things.
Ran around for a long time.
Sure. On Greg Dortch,
You sound so bothered.
They're playing the Rams this week. I don't have a lot of. Here's what I will say. I don't have a ton of confidence. I don't have a ton of confidence in the Cardinals offense right now. Period. I still do think that the pecking order goes Marquise Brown, Zach Ertz, and then maybe Dortch. But maybe after the running backs too, especially if James Conner's out there. So you're looking at the third or fourth option on an offense that feels broken in a tough matchup against the Rams. But production is production. He's had over 55 yards in both games this season. He's had a lot of receptions. It does feel like they are trying to, again, the way they would use Rondell Moore, they're trying to scheme him open. They're trying to do a few things. So, okay. On Greg Dortch, I feel like I'm sort of talking myself into him, but yeah. Again, I feel similar to him the way I felt like with Russell Gage or some of the other guys we've talked about. Feels like more of a floor play than an upside play.
Another guy,
sort of depends on what you need.
Another guy in a similar mold that's available in 89% of leagues. Target monster, but obviously not big plays, more short passes. Sterling Shepard out there. And I know you're a little higher on Shepard.
I like Sterling Shepard. Look, here's a guy who led the team in targets in week 2, right? He ran the second most routes. He played 90% of the offensive snaps. Remember, he's coming back from a very serious injury. And Sterling Shepard has a history of being a fantasy productive wide receiver. He's right. I mean, health has been the issue with Sterling Shepard. And then you look around New York. Wan'Dale Robinson's been hurt for the first 2 games. Kadarius Toney can't get in the field, and it seems like the coaching staff has lost all confidence in Kadarius Toney. Kenny Golladay, wherefore out there? Wherefore art thou, Kenny Golladay? And so, like, Daniel Jones, like, they're 2-0, and they're like, it's not pretty.
Training wheels on Daniel Jones.
A little bit, right? Yep. But Dayball's got them believing, and so as Sterling Shepard works his way back into health, remember, he wasn't there for much of training camp.
Yep.
He just sort of came in towards the end. A lot of people thought he would start the season on the pup. So the fact that he's even out there, the fact that he played 90% of the snaps, I just think he's getting healthier every single week. He's the only guy that Daniel Jones seems to trust in the passing game outside of Saquon, not counting him. I just think there's some sneaky appeal for Sterling Shepard because it's clear through 2 games that while the Giants aren't going to be world beaters, they're not going to be the disaster we all thought they are. I mean, they're 2-0. Yeah. Again, low-scoring games that they sort of grinded out against Tennessee and Carolina, but 2-0 is 2-0 in the NFL. And so I'm a Dayball believer, and as he's sitting there looking like, what do I got to work with? It's not much. He's got Saquon, and he's got Sterling Shepard, who's available in 89% of leagues. You saw in my team that I lost to, like, I picked him up, right? By the way, had 12.3 fantasy points last week. I mean, he was solid.
Yeah,
he was solid, and I'm going to think he's going to continue to increase, especially when they get in the end. They get in close. Daniel Jones likes to look for him.
And to your point, this Giants staff has showed you they're not really interested in using Kenny Golladay. They're not really interested in using Kadarius Toney. That opens the door for Sterling Shepard, as you said, played 90% the offensive snaps in week 2.
Kadarius Toney, Devontae Parker, Devin Duvernay. I know he scored 3 touchdowns in 2 games, but he's just not getting any targets or snaps. All those guys are guys that I'd be okay dumping if you need to free up a roster spot to grab some of the wide receivers that we've talked about. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.